I'll just. Okay, I think we are live. Hi everyone. Good evening. This is Yashwardhan. I hope everyone's able to hear us fine. Quickly on the comments, if we could. Okay, perfect. Yep. Yeah, guys. So super excited for today's session. Today we have Bhavya with us, right? Bhavya is a student of AccioJob from batch 14. He joined us in January 2022 and currently is placed with GE Healthcare at a great package, right? And today's sort of we decided to come out with this success story in a live format, right? Bhavya was kind enough to take out time and we'll primarily be talking about his background, what was he doing before this, how did he come to AccioJob, why did he do AccioJob, how was his experience at AccioJob, and everything around his story. Right from the last 1 year has been an exciting time for Bhavya, I'm sure. A lot of things have changed across the year. So yeah, I would love to hear all things one by one. Right. So let's just start, Bhavya, with a quick introduction and a little more light on what you were doing 1 year back, right? What was it like, and what has the journey been like from after your schooling, and what were you involved in?
Okay. Just let me know if I'm audible, right?
Yep, we can hear you fine.
Okay. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Bhavya Shah. I have completed my BTech in 2021 in information technology. Prior to AccioJob, actually, I was working with one of the company, and after that, I think I worked for there for like 7-8 months, and then after that, AccioJob happened. I actually resigned my previous company, and then I was doing full-time AccioJob. And after that, I'm currently working as a software engineer specialist at GE Healthcare. Apart from that, I think I'm like born and brought up in Mumbai, currently living in Bangalore, like not exactly living in Bangalore, but I just moved to Bangalore quite recently. So yeah, I mean, it has been quite a roller coaster, I would say. Like, so, and to answer your second question, what was a year? A year has been a roller coaster, like, because prior to, I think this was the time I joined my previous company also, and before that also I had offer from like 2-3 other companies. I was already very confused, and I actually did not have a clarity direction what exactly I wanted to do and all that. So I think that was quite a roller coaster. And now to see the struggle, and then now that I'm playing like here in GE Healthcare and all that, so it's actually been a roller coaster. So yeah, that I think that sums it up.
Got it. Very interesting. Right. So Bhavya was, before this, he was working with a service-based company, right? He got out of his college. He did his bachelor's in engineering in IT. He did it from Mumbai University, right? Yep. So Bhavya, why did you decide to sort of, that when did that realization occur, first of all, that I should invest in upskilling first and then should try for something better, right, in terms of not just package but quality of work, in terms of maybe growth aspects, all of those things involved, right?
So to honestly answer your question, I think in my case, I was actually a little bit late. Actually, people know me now. And now that I see everyone who's like, they're not even in the first year from since 12th they start coding and all that. That's like what when I think I remember when I was in 12th or when I was in first year, I had no idea about what exactly all of that was. So, but in my case, I would say I was a little bit late to all of that. So, and then like as soon as I made connections, I started networking and all that, I realized, and plus COVID also happened. So like, seeing that the world was like falling apart at one side, but if you see on the contrary, IT industry got booming like crazy. People were getting 200-300 times their salary. And then so when I decided to quit my job, that was also, I would say, not an easy decision, honestly, because to join a company and quit it within 7 to 8 months, like because what used to happen is basically like to answer your question, when did I fail? So then after, as soon as I quit my job, I either had two options. I either probably like start applying immediately and probably have like a similar package range, like 5 lakhs, 5-6 lakhs, or probably like wait for 2-3 months, 3-4 months, upscale myself, and then probably like get a better job, basically, which probably might take me like 3-4 years to reach that, something like that. So I think that was the first time I came across AccioJob.
Got it. Got it. Interesting. Right. So I think that is a I think a logical chain of thought which he followed through. Right. That he realized that if people around me are growing their packages in IT industry at this rate, and people are getting rewarded for their skill sets to this extent, that people get placed as high as 20, 25, 30 LP as well. Right. And that to freshers. Right. So if the
Yeah.
skills are getting rewarded to this extent, why am I not really upskilling? Right. Which is a logical chain of thought to think through. And but I'm still confused. I still want to check, like, why did you decide to not pursue AccioJob while working in that company, and why did you decide to go all in, right? Like, I want to full time prepare.
So the thing is, like, basically in my previous company, right, the thing was, what used to happen, I used to not get that much of time, and and the thing is, the project which I was working was a bank project, right? So for example, if you had to do any production changes and all that, you had to implement any production or something like that, that used to happen after 6, when people are not exactly using the
Hmm.
servers and all, right? So that,
Hmm.
I'm not saying a lot of times, but many a times it used to go like 7, 8, 9. Like, I think in my case, actually, sometimes it used to happen that I used to start late, and then work till late also. It was also a thing. So then, I did not have a dedicated time or something like that. I would be really exhausted by the end of the day. So it was actually a risky decision. I would not advise, or I mean, like, not promote to anyone to take it or something like that. I'm not even promoting that, but so in my case, actually, that worked out pretty well, I would say. So that's been
Hmm.
my, yeah, that was the
Got it.
reason actually I
Understood.
left, actually.
Understood. So next question is, how did you come to AccioJob? Like, why did you come to AccioJob? How did you find us? Was it a referral from a friend? Had you followed us on some social media channels? How did you come to know about AccioJob?
So actually, so during that time, I was also like in contact with few of my friends also, right? Who have been working in a very good company and are probably are since they're in the IT and all that. So one of my friends actually
Mm-hmm.
recommended you should try this bootcamp kind of a thing, where then they take that, like, they help you upscale, and because you definitely do have Udemy courses and all of that also, but like, that's this and that is not comparable, to be very frank. So, like, yeah, so that's how I came to know about the bootcamps and all that. I did research quite a few into all of that, and then that is how I shortlisted AccioJob to that.
Got it. Understood. Understood. Yep, makes sense. There is a fair point here that you can learn from YouTube also, I think, right? Before Udemy, there is a YouTube also, and people can learn from there also, from Udemy also, right? And then there are boot camps like ours also, right? But if someone is looking to sort of get that piece of outcome in a limited set of time, in a very, very structured learning environment, with all sorts of additional support which you need, is already present for you, right? For be it your resume, be it placement
Definitely.
opportunities, be it
Definitely.
mock interviews, doubt solving, everything incorporated. If you're looking for something where in a limited time environment you want to get to that outcome, then something like a boot camp is probably the is a great choice to make, right? Again, fair point.
Definitely.
Got it, Bhavya. So okay, next question. Moving on, right? So you got into AccioJob in January batch. You had already sort of moved on from your previous job, so you were in this full time, right? So how was the learning journey like from January onwards once you started in, and how did you? First, I would like to hear a little bit about your learning journey, and then a little bit more about how did you manage your time during this time, right? Because you'd left a full-time job, so already I am assuming family pressure, your own mental pressure was added, that boss, I've left a full-time job, I need to give my
Yeah.
all in here, right? So how did you structure your day and sort of optimize for learning there?
So actually, touchwood, I would consider myself luckier, because there was no such family pressure as such. Like, you are left a job or something like that. At least in my case. So that one thing, and then probably the learning I has to actually structure. So basically, I used to probably, like, like, so basically, as soon as I left a job, I just realized I had nothing to do. So then I just had this one thing to do, like, learn, upskill, and probably land a job as soon as possible. Because a lot of time, what could happen is, basically, if you have a longer gaps also, right? So, like,
Hmm.
if you're not able to justify, because in my interview, to be very precise, the man in the managerial round, right, the guy actually asked me, like, what did you do, like, 3 months and all that. I'm not saying taking a gap is bad or something like that. I'm just saying, if like, in my case, I was able to justify why I had taken the gap, and the guy was actually, like, the manager was actually impressed by the fact that you decided, like, you had sort of direction in that. So yeah, so my learning actually used to happen. I used to like get up early morning. I used to like go to gyms and like I used to go to gym, and then as soon as after that I used to sit for this course and all that. So normally what happens is like the classes are after 7:30, right, in the evening, right? They're in the evening 8, I think 8, yeah, 8 to 11. But I think that never worked out for me. I used to always watch the pre-recorded at my pace, and I used to pursue it that way. Like I used to watch it in the morning, probably like 1-2 lectures or something like that. Then I used to see what all, maybe probably make notes or something like that, and then probably like practice on lead code and all of that. So I think that's been, and I think I used to do it full time. So probably like it was actually kind of a job only. I used to do from morning till the evening. So it was kind of like a full time thing only. So yeah.
Got it. Understood. And how was so students here are requesting for two things. One is that what was your strategy when you were learning DSA? And the second thing is, can you speak a little slower?
Okay. Yeah. So, see, I did not actually follow any sort of strategy. The strategy which I would say basically for beginners were to, because I have already been in the coding, like, I've done like somewhat coding in my 3-4 years. So probably, but for someone who's actually planning to like get from different fields or something like that, I think whatever like my study material AccioJob's provide is way more, like sufficient, more than enough actually, the problems which they have in their portal, right? Which is actually way more than enough. But once if you have done that, right, once if you think you want to do more, there are always geeks for geeks, there are lead codes. Now I think there are a lot of like HD sheets also, like selected curated problems. If you Google it or if you YouTube, like there are a lot of people who upload it. So once if you feel you have done all the good questions from the AccioJob portal, you can definitely look into like other EA. And apart from that, strategy I would say was probably like get a topic, for example linked list. That probably like just first get the basics right, what exactly is a linked list, what is the use cases and all that, what kind of and after that what basically look out, like there are like, for example in geeks for geeks, if you go to see, like there is a section where you can sort questions based on companies also. So for example, if I'm looking for questions based on linked list asked on Amazon, so then I'll have 4-5 questions. And if you go to see, right, there are few questions which are very repetitive. So first get used to that kind of questions, and slowly and easily, like initially I'm pretty sure you would feel the demotivation that the questions are not happening, or it's I'm not able to crack it or something like that. I would really advise be patient about it, because like even I was me, or actually if you ask anyone, right, everyone was at that stage where they were not even able to do a simple question, something like a reversal linked list, right? If you see, if you have like so it's a very basic question, but initially you even feel difficulty solving that also. So I would say be patient about it, and I think that's how, like start like catch a topic and do topic wise. I would say, like at least that's what worked for me, so I would advise that also.
Got it. That is great. That is very helpful, I'm assuming. Got it. So next I wanted to check on. So, okay, did we lose Bhavya?
Yeah.
Bhavya is here.
No.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So next I wanted to sort of ask you, so how was the learning journey exactly? Like you started off with DSA, how were the mentors like? How were the sessions like? You watched recordings, so how was the content like? Typically, how often did you pick up assignments? Right? Did you do them every day? Did you pick up topics every week? That this week I'm going to wrap up these topics and I'm at least going to hit 40 questions on lead code on this, right?
Got it. So actually, the people like the mentors, the people who are helping you, they're actually very helpful, I would say. And that's the one thing I would really appreciate, is that there is no like time limit. So like initially, if you go to see, the structure is 2 to 2 months, right? 2 months DSA, 2 months front end, 2 months back end, right? That's how the structure is. But it might even happen like there are some people who do not understand a certain thing. So there have also been a session where just an entire session they were explaining Tower of Hanoi. So because that's based on recursion, right? So a lot of people who are not from the IT background, right, or who get recursion actually is a very tricky topic, so it takes time. So the instructor, I would Uday, right, he was our instructor, so he used to actually take the entire session just to explain, just to make sure the concepts are very clear. So there was no like rush key, I have to complete it in 2 months, or I have to complete it 2.5 months. It extends, but they would make sure that you have got it, you have understood it. Like most of the people in my batch have understood it or something like that. Even if that does not work, so we used to also have a doubt session, or we used to also have one-on-one, like you can in the portal you can apply and you can ask for like one-on-one, you're not able to solve the question. There was a live chat support also which was available, so that was also actually very helpful in my case, at least. Like I did use it a couple of times, and if not that, then there was so every day there's a doubt session also before the class, so you can even ask your doubts and all that firsthand. So that was great actually.
Got it. Got it. Understood. So another question I wanted to ask Bhavya was that after DSA, did you start focusing on front end as well, or did you understand that I want to just practice DSA so much that I can clear a good job on DSA alone?
So actually, in my case, I before the front end track could begin, right? So companies have already started to come, like 2.5 months, 3 months. Companies started to come, so I started to I had applied in few of them, and I was continuously giving the interviews and all that. So I think before the front end track could even start, I think I had an offer in my hand. So and then after that, what happened? Hello,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm audible, right? Yeah, sorry. So I think before the front end tag could start, I think I was almost placed in a company. So I mean, I had never like, and then after that, like once you're in the company, you have to learn about the tech stack, you have to get familiar. So I did not actually get. I did watch a couple of front end videos, but in my case, I did not go till front end actually. So I
Got
would
it.
like data structure
Understood.
was the key for me. That worked out pretty well.
Got it. Got it. So typically, we don't want to talk about packages here, right? So guys, we won't be revealing the exact package or anything like that. But for good companies like, for example, Bhavya is placed at GE Healthcare, which is a great company, right? And a lot of other companies also, which are generally offering above 8, 10 LPA, 12, 15, 20 LPA, all these ranges, right? As high as you go more towards the MNC range, and those companies tend to have data structures algorithms all the more in their hiring processes, right? And it becomes even more crucial. For example, if you're applying for an Amazon or a Google, data structures algorithms would probably be like 70% of what is needed to clear the entire selection process, right? So for his case, the company is working now. Data structures algorithms was very, very crucial. And he was on track, he was working, he was putting in a lot of effort right from the beginning of the program. And that is why by the time even front end started, his DSA became very good. He had practiced enough, and that is why he cleared a company based on DSA. It is not like entire Bhavya's batch got placed in third month only or fourth month only, right? It is because he was on track with DSA. There will be lots of people who might just be a little off track with DSA, and they might do really well with front end now and then get placed in front end dev related jobs as well. But Bhavya's case was great. He did well with.
Just to No, just to add to that. So because in my case, because I've already worked, like I had already basic idea about how things work as listing, so it was easy for me to grasp, so it does not mean that everyone is the same, because, there are some people who are coming from different backgrounds also. And to answer your other question also, which you asked, right, how much questions you are supposed to do or something like that. I actually never had a target as in like, 7 karne, 8 karne, but I at least had at least 2 to 3 I have to do in a day. If it happens more than that, that's okay. And then there's one thing also, I used to not wait for like I used to just wait for hour and a half to try to look at the approach or something like that. If not, then probably I used to move on, because sometimes what happens, you sit for days and days just to solve one problem. That should also not be done. You should have a consistency. I would say, to sum it up, I would say consistency is the key. Like even if you're doing 2 problems, let's do 2 problems every day. If you're doing 5 problems, if you're capable of doing 5 problems, you can do 5 problems a day. But it should not be you're doing 5 problems in one day, 2 problems in third day, second day, and for a week you're not doing anything. Consistency, even if it means 2 problems a day, like keep on doing it. I think consistency would help.
Yep, very, very, very crucial insight, I think. Right. One is that people struggle in the beginning that I am not able to think of approach. I'm spending 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour on a problem and I'm still not able to get it. Makes sense. Decide a cutoff in your time. That is how I would also suggest strategizing, that decide a cutoff time. I'm going to put 1 hour on this problem and I'm going to try my best, right? And actually focus and invest effort in it, right? Attempt it thoroughly with your whole heart, right? Do it honestly. And if you're not able to do it in an hour, that's okay. Just whenever that question is getting discussed, understand the approach. Just understand the approach. Don't copy paste the code from there, right? Understand the approach and then go and implement it by yourself.
So actually I wanted to add to that, because see what happens in data structures, that you cannot always claim you have done it 100%. People are working in Google also, people are working in Facebook also. There have been problems which even they cannot solve. So it's not like a person who's been working in Google who has solved all 2,500 questions on lead code. Even it's possible, even he might get stuck. So it's not like, you should not never like consider yourself beneath something. If I cannot solve it, how will be I able to get some companies like, go to such as a whatever your expected company is. So
Yep. Yep, absolutely, absolutely. You will get stuck. That is like, I think that is a thumb rule. When you get started with DSA, you will get stuck with problems, and you will think I cannot come
if
up with
you
logics and approaches.
No, I think if you don't get stuck, I think then there's something you're doing wrong. That's what I
Yeah,
feel, honestly. If you don't get
you're
stuck
not
in some
looking at
problem,
enough problems. Yeah.
definitely, I would say that.
Yep. Absolutely. Makes sense. Again, I think by the time you look at around 100 odd problems, right, when you get started in your DSA learning journey, and by the time you look at around 100 odd problems, that is the time when you start figuring out that, okay, I'm improving for sure, right? You start getting that realization that, okay, I'm at least
Definitely.
improving, right? So yeah,
Definitely.
that is definitely there. Got it. Next question with Preetham is asking, right? So Preetham wants to understand how was the GE Healthcare interview process and selection process like? What sort of was it? DSA based? Was it web dev based at all? Of course, it was DSA based, we know. But what level of DSA questions did they ask? How many rounds did they take? Apart from that, also, what do you think? Apart from your DSA skills, is something which they looked at and they found that, okay, these are added advantages or added strengths.
So in my case, actually, initially it started with a coding around kind of a thing. So basically, it had like aptitude questions and all of that. And I had two questions also. One question was like from math pro like question, and one question I think it was from binary tree. So whoever had clear like were able to solve both the questions, then they got into the first round of interview. In my case, the first round of interview was pretty simple. They were mainly focusing on OOPS concept and all of that. And I think I had they also asked me some linked list questions, and basically some things like basic about like Java, inheritance, polymorphism, all of that. And they were actually very focused on OOPS concept. So I think it was a 1.5 hour discussion on that, and two lead code medium questions, I would say, on arrays and linked list. And that was the first round, technical round. After that, in my case, I also had a second technical round. In second technical round, for me, they had asked there was one data structures question, and in my case they also had asked a basic system design question kind of a thing. So I was able to do it like basically how basically I would say implementation of like, for example, if I'll say overloading, method overriding, all of that, Java polymorphism, inheritance. In the second round, it was they practically implemented. The guy told me to practically implement. He did not give me a direct question. This is the question. I had to figure it out. It's based on Java OOPS concept and all of that. And that was the second round, pretty much. And then I had a managerial round. Managerial round actually was the most tricky one, because they were actually, so they have their cultures, values, and all that, right? So they even check if you align with the cultures, values, and all of that also. So before that, actually, so just visit the company's website and just go through about like what exactly is the company doing, what exactly is the company about, or what exactly is their goals, or what exactly is they are looking for, or what exactly are they looking like. Every company has their values or something like that. So that,
Agreed.
and I think in my case, actually, managerial rounds was the most tricky round, I would say. There were a bit of technical questions. There were a bit of, I would not say HR exactly, HR kind of questions, but like, yeah, a mix of both. So that had happened. And after that, I think I just had like a 40, like, no, actually we had a hour and a half discussion on the managerial round. After that, an HR round was there for like typical HR round, 30-35 minutes. And then, yeah, I had the offer.
Got it.
So that's pretty much it.
Understood. Preetham is asking, system design question was low level or high level?
Hello. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah.
I could not hear you.
Yeah. Preetham is asking, was the system design question low level or high level?
I think in my case, it was a low level design kind of a question.
Got it.
So, but actually, it's not necessarily.
Understood.
They might ask you system design. It's also different from person to person. So I have one of my friend who also got placed in this. He was asked about binary trees and all of that. Like one question on binary tree and basic Java and all of that only. So it was just it's not like they will ask you. It depends on the guy who is exactly your interview also.
Yep. Absolutely. Got it. Interesting. Yeah. So Bhavya, I'm assuming you took some mock interviews as well before heading into the final placement interviews with companies. So how was that experience like? How helpful was that?
I would say mock interview was pretty helpful. So the one thing I would appreciate that you do not have a number of limited to mock interviews, right? So even if I want, I can take one right now. I can take n number of mock interviews. It's not like I can just take 2 or 3 or something like that. That's one good thing about it. And apart from that, I think mock interview do really help you out because it happens. Like sometimes what happens when you give an interview, right? You do not get a feedback of your interview because I have like given interviews for a lot of companies, and I exactly did not get it because in my mind, I had a feeling it went actually very good, but I did not get a feedback for a fact that what exactly went wrong, or what did I not do right, or what was the expectation or something like that. So in that case, mock interview do help you, because firstly you just get a direct feedback about what it is, and apart from that, you also start building comfort, because what happens is the first interview that you give in your life, that's going to be the most difficult, and then eventually that's the thing, eventually you gradually get comfortable, because sometimes it happens, you know the problem, you have solved it, you know the approach, you're just not able to communicate. So that also happens to a lot of people, that I know the problem, I can solve it, I can give you the approach. But and the one thing I would say during an interview also, just try to communicate also, because what happens is, if I have been presented a problem, and if I just write down a code, so it's possible the interviewer might even think, the guy has just mugged up the solution, So just try to even explain your approach and all that. And that whole, I think, it does not come in the first go, definitely. You have to practice, not practice, you have to give more number of mocks, For me, probably 3 mocks might work. For someone, 6-7 mocks might work, just to be comfortable with the process. Because, I don't think, the problem that they give are difficult. The problem would be the communication part. So it should not happen that you have a very good offer, and then you go there and you mess it up just because you are not able to, probably you were not comfortable, or you could not express your thoughts, what you felt. So mock do definitely play a very critical role. At least in my case, they did play a very critical role.
Yep. Absolutely. I think mock interviews are very, very crucial, especially for our students, right? Because our students are generally freshers or very, very recent grads. They're not people who have a lot of experience in the industry, who have taken interviews, like they've taken hundreds of interviews in their life, right? So for them, it is like a acclimatization to before sitting in the company interview, right? You lose a little bit of your nervousness. You understand
Definitely.
what are common mistakes which you're going to make sure. Right? At least I don't need to go, you won't go blank in an interview, at least, right? You would know that
Definitely.
I need to explain the brute force approach also. I need to optimize it post that also. So you'll be aware of things which you need to do in an interview setup, and you'll be comfortable in talking to the interviewer also, because you've done it before so many times, right?
Yeah, that's the most important part. You have to be comfortable with the interview, because that's what I just said.
Yep, absolutely. So Ujjwal is asking a question that sometimes he gets stuck in logic building for a very long time. So, and it becomes a little demotivating because he's not able to figure out the logic himself. So, did you face something like this? And if you faced it, what did you do to sort of keep yourself motivated and consistent that next day I have to solve more questions?
See, initially, I would say I also was the kind of person who used to if I used to get stuck on one problem, I used to sit for 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. But that's what I did. That's when I realized, it's actually not helping me, because you have to decide a limit, like if for 45 minutes, 1 hour, 1.5 hours per problem, that's what I'm going to give. I can't give more than that. So sometimes what happens, at that very moment, you're not able to understand the problem, or sometimes it happens you have done that problem, it just does not click you. Like, for example, in my case, what had happened was, there was one problem I could not get it for quite a while. Then I just give it a certain time, like hour and a half. Then I was like, okay, I'll do it later on. Then just make keep a track of all the questions you're not able to do. It's not if I'm not able to do, I'll just drop it or something like that. Make a list and probably try to revisit it after a week or something like that. Because a lot of time what happens is, the fact that you're doing a problem for 6 hours, 7 hours, you're just so frustrated, you're not able to think clearly. So probably once you visit it after a week or something like that, it can even happen. After a week, you can just okay, this was the problem, this was the approach. Oh damn, I was literally, I wasted 2-3 days just to think that. So I think that you tend to get a little frustrated after a while. So you don't think straight for that. So I think you should not you should set a boundary or something like that, and then probably not exceed beyond that. Probably try to resolve it after a week or something like that. If not after a week, then probably probably it's possible you might not even get it after a week. Then probably after some time or something like that, you'll definitely get it. It's not you won't get it. You might take some time, but just don't get stuck to that one question and just feel bad about it, because it's happened. That's what I told earlier also, right? People are in Amazon, Facebook, and all that. There are some problems which even they cannot solve. Any company, for the matter of things, because there is no one who can claim I can solve 100% of data structure and any problem, right? Because there are all constantly new problems coming up and all that. So that's gonna be with everyone, even if you're working in some service-based company, or even if you're working in top-tier companies. That's how it keeps it that's how it is challenging enough. If in the top level company, if you're able to solve everything, then there would no be the challenging aspect of the would go away. So I think that should be there. That's what I feel.
Absolutely. I think that is exactly what you can do, Ujjwal. There is no solid way of not getting demotivated, right? You just have to. That is why I say, right, when I talk to people in orientation, I tell them very important part is consistency, right? Get into a schedule. It is okay that today 2 questions both you couldn't solve. It is okay. Next day you got to see the next two, right? Which is super important, because if you lose that consistency, then it will start affecting everything further from there, right? So that is important. Okay, Pallav is
And
asking a question. This question is, sorry, go ahead, Bhavya.
no, I was saying to add up to that, you also like just try to have a clear goal. Also, for example, like probably if I want to land into a product-based company, or if I want to get 8 LPA, 5 LPA plus 6 LPA plus 10 LPA plus 12, like whatever is have a clear goal also. So like it will also help you to fuel up, because what happens is a people like I know a lot of like people, they just keep on solving, but they don't have a clear goal. Okay, like 6 LPA, 7 LPA, or like not exactly from the CTC point of view also, but from the company point of view also. Like have a basic expectation, just have a clear goal. What exactly are you targeting, and then like practice accordingly. I just wanted to add to that. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Yep. Got it. Pallab has a question. Everyone of a batch gets opportunity, or they are chosen by AccioJob, right, Pallab? So we have basic eligibilities, right? I'll explain you how our placement cell sort of send students across, right? So if the company is coming in, let's say, and they have requirement that intermediate DSA skills are okay, so we take all the students, everyone can apply for that, right? All the students who have a mock score in intermediate DSA above, let's say, 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever is the company's expectation, right, of how tough it is going to be, what is the selection process based on, right? Accordingly, we send all the students who are there, who are ready for that company. There is no selection in the sense that, okay, I like Bhavya, I will send Bhavya, I don't like Adarsh, I will not send Adarsh, right? There's nothing like that. There is objective selection criteria, and according to that, all the students are sent, right? Again, Preetham has one more question. Did you get remote work or relocate to another place? Preetham, he just said, right, he's moved to Bangalore very recently, right, and is currently working out of Bangalore. Okay. In
I
which
would
tech stack will you work? If you can answer that as well.
No, I would like to add to the previous question also, but because I would like to answer the previous question actually. What I feel is basically, at least in the initial year of your career, right? I mean, work from home is definitely very comforting, where everything is very good, all of that, but at least in the initial year of your career, right, you should actually prefer going to the office and working, because I'll tell you honestly, the kind of connection which I have made in like less than a month, probably, if that would have been online, right? It would take me at least 5 to 6 months to at least get to know the person. And apart from that, connections also, even if you're stuck at some issue, right, you have to actually even check, if the guy is available. If my senior developer who I'm supposed to ask for something like that, is the guy available? Like, is he like there, or like is he not busy in some production issue or something like that? So, but here it's like you can actually just physically go and ask him, dude, this is the issue, I'm not able to do it, and definitely connections and all of that, you need to actually experience the corporate life actually, definitely, probably once
Absolutely.
you're senior in your career or something like that, or probably who are in a managerial role or something like that, then probably you can see if there's work from home option. But I would suggest probably initially at least 2-3 years you should have the experience of physically going to the office. So yeah, and in my case it's
Absolutely.
hybrid. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think a great answer, Bhavya. I can add a point to that actually, right? Since I'm a little more experienced on this side. So in
Definitely.
office, what other thing it adds is that apart from what he said, right? It is connections which you build. You get to learn so much, right? You're sitting with a senior developer as compared to pinging him on Slack. Can I get 5 minutes from you, right? Which is a huge difference. And apart from that, also, right? The kind of people you will be around, there will be smarter people than you who would be working around you, who have much more knowledge. Even if you go for a tea break with them and you have a meta conversation with them, right? Maybe those two guys are talking who are senior to you. They're talking about that. Yeah, I think this month's salary I'm going to be investing my part into these stock markets, and then or this mutual fund or XYZ. Maybe just a random example, right? But all of those meta conversations also you start picking up, and you get to learn from everything around you. Plus, of course, the independence, right? घर पे भव्या को मम्मी खाना खिला रहे थे, अब भव्या is figuring out shit himself, right? Bhavya is like, oh, I need to learn this also, right? So you get to
Definitely.
learn quite a lot. So early stage in initial years of your career, definitely lots of learning if you are going in office, right? Got it. Perfect.
Definitely.
Um, okay. Next is. Sir got placed in which minimum package? So we're not revealing the package here, right? Like I said, if you're asking me the slab, it's 10 to 18 LPA slab. Okay. No answers. DSA is really hell for me, Gaurav is saying. Is there enough opportunities if I learn front end only? Will I get a job only on the basis of front end? So, Gaurav, to be very honest, there are a lot of front end dev jobs, right? front-end dev is super important as a role in a lot of companies. As a startup, we have front-end developers, right? What we look for apart from that in a front-end developer is that our at least basic data structures, algorithms knowledge is there or not, right? Do you have an understanding of how the internet works? Do you have a basic understanding of data structures? What sort of basic algorithms exist? And apart from that, even in front end, there are lots of ways to check your proficiency, that how good are you, right? Someone can just mimic a, let's say, very simple project, like if you want to copy a cred landing page, right? One person, a average front-end developer would give you something similar to a cred landing page. A good front-end developer would probably make it pixel perfect, make sure the loading speed is fine, make sure that it is responsive in all sorts of devices as well, right? So there's lots to learn in front-end alone also, but just front-end ke alawa, I would strongly recommend at least basic data structures, algorithms knowledge should be there, right? Next question, Sarvesh is asking, is graphs very important?
Graph actually depends. See, basically, it actually depends on what kind of company are you targeting, right? First things first, because a lot of times I know people who have interviewed for some companies like Amazon. Also, for them, also, question for like binary tree or just like linked list arrays questions are asked. It's not necessary that if you do graphs, you'll get into Amazon, something like that. Definitely. The thing is first, get your basics clear, get your intermediate things clear, get familiar with, recursion, backtracking, and probably like binary tree and all of that. Then probably you can think of advanced, because see, there are a lot of things. There is something called a segment trees. There is something called a trie. There is something called as red black trees. There are a lot of things to that, but that is something very few like selected companies ask. So you have to actually so my advice would be, so whichever company you are targeting, right, you can go to the Geeks for Geeks and you can just write, for example, Amazon, right? So you can just write Amazon GFG archives. Okay, so if you go there are a lot of people who have already given an interview, who have been selected for Amazon, right? They have the experience. You can go through the experience. You can see if the company which you are targeting, like is the company asking graph or something like that, right? And I think graph is something, if you're really targeting very high package or something like that, then probably I think for most of the people, intermediate DSS should be fine. But yeah, if you're really very comfortable with intermediate and all of that, I think you should then definitely go for graph, DP, and all that. So yep. I think that answers this question.
Absolutely. That's a perfect answer, to be honest, right? Kianu is also asking a similar question, right? How many questions from gym section should I solve to get minimum 6 LPA, right? So Kianu, just for reference for all other audience, right? Apart from AccioJob students, people might not know, gym section is actually a section on the AccioJob platform, which is a huge repository of around 600 odd questions now, where students can just go in and keep practicing more and more. So Kianu, to get a minimum 6 LPA job, there's no exact number of questions which I can define. What I can tell you is that if you're scoring above a 7 in mock interviews, in DSA mock interviews, right? I think you have gained enough knowledge that you will be able to clear somewhere around 6 LPA, 7 LPA job pretty easily, right? So I think that is a better way for you to think as compared to just solving more and more gym questions. Of course, solving more and more will help you improve your mock score that every time you give a mock, right? So every time you give a mock, just note the feedback, note the areas where you need to improve, work on those, and take one more mock probably, right?
I would like to add to that actually. Even apart from that, actually, what you should do is, because you should also keep a handy notebook, right? You don't have to exactly write the entire code or something like that. You just have to write the point. You just have to write the approach. Because what happens is, there have been some problem which I have solved, and after a month, I cannot realize why did I initialize it to 0, or why did I set a flag here, or So just just try to just have a habit of writing the approach. Like, I mean, coding is cool, no doubt, but because, and also I would also emphasize on revision also, because what happens is, I have solved 200 questions, but I don't remember which was the first question I have solved, so probably just have a habit of making notes, like, because my notes might be different. The notes which probably Yash might be making for himself would be completely different. The notes are just for your reference. You don't have to give it to like, it should be so, like, it should be as small and precise, just the approach, just so that even if I open the book after 1 month or something like that, or like, if I see key, okay, so then I can realize, okay, this was the reason I used this approach. That is the reason this is optimized, or something like that. And probably once in a week, you can just, brush up, probably like half an hour, and just take a quick go through or something like that. That will also, because I think because there are a lot of people who just keep on practicing, who are practicing, but who or not revising it. So because sometimes what happens, you have solved the problem, the approach, but you are not able to convey, you are not able to recollect it. How did I solve it or something like that? So that should also not happen.
Great. So Hitesh is asking this again. So Hitesh's question was, which tech stack are you working on after
sorry,
joining GE?
Oh yeah, I forgot the question. Sorry. So actually, my role right now, the tech stack I'm working on is Java, Spring Boot, Jenkins, and all of that. And at the front end, we have Angular. And apart from that, we also have some things we're working on. There are like some Python scripts and all of that. We have Docker also. We have Kubernetes also. We have, I think, Node.js and all of that also. There are like a lot of variety of tech stack that that's CA. But mainly, I would say in my case, I'm working on Java, Spring Boot, and yeah.
Yep, got it. Perfect. Tarun's question, I think I will be able to take it at the end. Right. Abhinav's question is there, and Aya Navo's question is also there. So Aya Navo, all of these questions are more about AccioJob, and they're asking me, I think, as compared to Bhavya. Guys, if anyone has more questions for Bhavya, right, about his journey, anything you would want as an insight from him, right, that where are you facing a blocker? Those would be more. Those can be taken up here, right? Apart from that, I am of course always available on Discord. So if you can always join the Discord community of AccioJob and ping me for all of the other questions, right? Okay. I'll ask the last few questions for Bhavya then. So Bhavya, how would you one word for the entire overall journey with AccioJob?
Hello. Can you repeat
Yeah,
the question?
I'll come
Actually,
again.
I lost the network. Yeah.
Sorry. So one word for the entire AccioJob journey. How was that like?
In my case, I would say it acted as a catalyst. I would say that's a very weird word to explain, but I think in my thing, because the thing is, which probably it gave me a structured part, it gave me a proper what exactly I'm supposed to do, where I'm weak and all of that. So it acted as a catalyst, because I'll be very honest. So as after joining AccioJob, I think I had before joining GE Healthcare, right? Within a month or so, I did have an offer. I actually had 2 offers within a span of 2 to 3 months, also like good, decent pay. But then also it acted as a catalyst, probably something. And I think before joining AccioJob, if probably if I would have been offered that sum or something like that, I would have probably accepted it very happily. But then then it just gave me a vision. I can do something better, and the fact that I've the fact that I'm working hard, that's something I can achieve. So basically, something that would have taken me 8, 9 months, 6, 7 months, or more than that, that probably I was able to get it in 4 months. So I think in my case, it acted as like a very good catalyst, if that makes sense, right?
Great. Yep. Makes a lot of sense here. Got it. One more guy is asking, so how is the mentorship from AccioJob?
The mentorship is pretty good, I would say. Apart from the technical mentorship, which I've already mentioned, there's how you also have a batch manager, right? So in my case, I had Shani as a batch manager. She was actually very helpful, whenever I should just ping her or call her up, and she definitely had a lot of things on her plate, but she used to always make sure, okay, this is the thing, this is where you're, a constant feedback. You can just call them anytime you want. You can just ask them, they would be a manager basically if you have any kind of issue with the course, if any kind of issue, if there is any things you are not able to get, or probably there are some requirements you want, probably there are some things that, for example, in our case, we also had a SQL like crash course kind of a thing. Someone had requested in the whichever company they are applying, they were asking SQL and all that, so that is also something you can communicate through a batchmate and batch mentor or that. And apart from that, the technical teacher, the person who was teaching also was very helpful. I think the most thing, they are very patient. Even if you ask the same question 10 times, or even if you ask the same question for the 11th time, right, they would be gladly they would not have a sense of sigh, or they would not be frustrated. Oh my god, like what is this? Even if you ask a simple question, is like int kya hota hai, what is boolean, or what exactly is different between int or float, kya hota hai, and all that. Even after 1 month, they would be gladly happy to help you with that. So I think I would say in my case, they have done very good.
Got it. I will take the last few questions. Then Abhinav is asking, how many mock interviews did you take before the final interview?
In my case, actually, I just took one mock interviews for every track. So you have basic, intermediate, and advanced, right? So in basic, I had taken 1 interview. Intermediate and advanced, I had taken one interview. And I was about to take a second interview for advanced, but then before that, all of this happened. So yeah.
Got it. Got it. Anurag is asking, is it easy for a fresher to cope up with a company environment? Anurag, everyone who's working in the company environment was sometime a fresher, right? So I believe everyone copes up, but of course, it's a monumental shift from your college to a corporate environment. You first time in life, you're going to be taking some responsibility on you. So yeah, how was it for for you, Bhavya?
In my case, actually, here the people are actually very helpful. If there's anything, even if you go with the silliest doubt, they are very, they understand the fact that you're a fresher. So, they would understand. So even if you go with the silliest doubt, they would be more than happy to help you all of that. So at least initial 5-6 months, you'll take time to understand the code base. You'll take time to understand what's going on. What apart from the code base, also it's not always about the code base. You also have to understand the business perspective also. Because what exactly are you trying to achieve with the coding which you're doing, right? So you also have to be you also have an idea of what exactly is the business perspective also. I would say for a fresher, at least 2 to 3 months, I would say give them time, like 2 to 3 months, they would at least take to understand all of that. It might be subjective from person to person, but like 2 to 6 months is the time frame which I feel is yeah. In my case, it has been actually, I think it's just been almost a month. My joining was 27th, right? So it's been a month. So people here have been very helpful, and there's no kind, and even if you're stuck with anything, they are ready to help you. Like as I said, I physically go to the office. I can just physically approach them and ask them, okay, this is the thing. Apart from the technical part, also, just if you want to know about the company, because there have been people who have been working here for years, also, so you can, even ask them what exactly is the company, like other questions also which you have just regarding the company and all of that also. So yeah.
Got it. Perfect. So one last question which is being asked is, what would your advice be for aspiring SDEs?
I would say, I think I've already said that actually, but I would actually repeat it again. I would say be consistent and be patient, because like in my case also, like consistency, I would say I would stress on consistency the most, even if you're doing 2 problems or 3 problems a day, be consistent. Even if you're not able to do it one day, probably the next day, probably try to solve 3 or 4 questions or something like that. And be patient, sorry. Patient, why I would say, because a lot of times happens. See, for example, if you as a person, you're planning to like plan, you have certain expectations. I would go for 6 lakhs and above, and then there are some people who get in full, like some company, they're offering 4.5 like, so they just grab it off. Okay, like what if I don't able, get it or something. And that I also had that same case in my time. Also I had like 2 offers from other companies before, like, during the training phase. But then I had a goal. I knew what I wanted, and I was persistent. And I was patient, also patient, because a lot of times it also happens that you're not able to solve the problem, like how, like a lot of people have mentioned, right? You're not able to solve. You would self-doubt yourself, like, so self-doubt, you'll have a sense of self-doubt. What exactly am I doing? Am I doing it right, or am I doing it now? Because just, I would say, be patient, be consistent. Things would turn out. It might take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, but it would happen. Probably 4 months for me, 2 months for you, 6 months, something like that. But be patient and be consistent. That's, I think, the 2 things I would really stress on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Perfect. That was Bhavya's journey, guys. Pretty inspiring. Great. He had conviction in himself. He wanted to sort of upskill, invest time in himself, invest time in learning, realize that yes, if I work hard, I have so much more potential to achieve. And that is what he did, right? So it is one thing to just think of it, and it is another thing to be actually able to do that and invest those hours, put in that hard work. And when it materializes, all the reward comes out, and that is the sweetest part, right? So yep, I hope and I wish all from AccioJob's side as well, that Bhavya has an amazing career ahead. And we'll probably keep inviting Bhavya again. He speaks really well and has great advice as well. Right. So we'll keep inviting Bhavya as he starts gaining more experience, to keep sharing more insights. Right. Perfect. Thank you so much,
Definitely.
guys. Thank you for engaging. Thank you so much. Thanks, Bhavya, and thanks everyone else for engaging. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yash. It had been a great conversation, I would say.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Yep.